Nerdy sports fan here with the Thursday night football post game. So, we all just watched that, right? Who saw this coming? I mean, outside of Cowboys fans, really. Who honestly thought that the Saints were going to lose this one? Kudos to Dallas. They won essentially the only way you would expect them to. Jump out to a lead and then really get that defense attacking the quarterback. Now, you would have expected the Saints to run the ball much better than they did in this game. With Ingram and Kamara, they've got options. And, Dallas hasn't exactly shut down the run all season, so you would have assumed that they've been able to do something. But Dallas really clamped down on them. And, you have to note that their linebacking core in Dallas is younger and better. With Smith and Van Der Esch, they really got after the running backs and shut them down. Van Der Esch especially helped out quite a bit containing Kamara, who normally is just a matchup nightmare for linebackers in the NFL. And that containment of the linebackers for the running backs really allowed the defensive line to just get after Drew Brees. And they did so extremely effectively right up the middle. And it seems almost that the defense laid the blueprint for how you're going to have to attack the Saints. Pressure up the middle on a short quarterback like Drew Brees, and making it so he can't step up in the pocket, having to run around on the edges. He doesn't exactly do extremely well outside of the pocket. And, he was off target a lot in this game. A lot of weak throws. Throws around the feet of his receivers, especially out in the flat. And one of them was picked off towards the end of the game. One of them earlier in the game should have been picked off. So, very much out of sorts in the pocket on the part of Drew Brees. Bushrod had some shaky penalties, and he just really couldn't handle the rush from either Lawrence or Gregory, whoever was going up against him. So you can see why, even though he's a two-time Pro Bowler, he's subbing in for an injured player. Give credit to the Cowboys. Their defense, they're really, really just dominated this game. And you wouldn't expect that against a supremely talented offense like the Saints, but they're at home, and teams tend to play better with a higher energy level at home. And energy affects the defense more than it does the offense typically. The crowd noise is a big factor. Crowd noise is a thing on defense all the time. And if you remember watching the Indianapolis games when Peyton Manning was the quarterback, those fans were very, very smart. You would think when your team's just running the ball downfield, down people's throats really quickly like the Colts did, that the fans would be really into it, but they were just shutting up the whole time. And they wouldn't get loud until the Colts were on defense. Well, that's what happens for defense. The crowd really amps them up. The noise really affects the ability for the offense to communicate. And they just fed off of it. The offense was not good at all. It was just effective enough to win the game. They couldn't stop the pass rush of the Saints. The Saints got to Dak Prescott, I want to say 7 times this game, and caused some turnovers themselves. So, this was definitely a failure of the Saints' offense, not their defense. Their defense held to 0 points in the second half for Dallas. So, you would think if you don't allow a single second half point, you're going to win the game. You would think if you hold a team to 13 points, you're going to win the game when you have Drew Brees as the quarterback. But that just wasn't the case. This was very much a defensive show on both sides, and the edge went to the home team because that's what happens with defense. You get that energy. So I would expect the Cowboys to take this going forward and be able to take the division. Their offense has looked better the past few games. It didn't look good in this game because the Saints actually do have a high-quality defense. I would expect them to be able to show up better against, especially their division, which is full of a bunch of scrubs right now. But yeah, they're likely going to come away with the division title now, winning a game like this. As far as the Saints go, they really just have to make sure that they fix whatever was wrong with their offensive line, allowing so much pressure up the middle. That is the Achilles heel here for Drew Brees. Pressure in his face. He looked like an entirely different quarterback. He did not look the same. So they need to fix that problem, or else other teams are going to use that as the blueprint to attack them the remainder of the season and into the playoffs. And with other teams in the NFC, we're assuming playoffs here. Think of the Rams. Think of where the strength of their defense is. Right up the middle, Aaron Donald. Nobody can stop the guy. So, yeah, the Saints had better fix what's going on that O-line if they want to do something this season in the playoffs. I would have some faith in Sean Payton to be able to do something, but with such a bad showing today, you have to think that whatever's wrong up there may take a few weeks to really tweak out to get to the point where they're safe for the playoffs. I don't think this is a sign of things to come. I really don't. Dallas has a uniquely talented defensive front that you're not going to see a lot of times, but it's really for the playoffs. They have to fix this. The Rams are strong up the middle on defense. And the Bears, defense is just their thing. And those are the kind of teams you have to think about now for the Saints, your playoff opponents. Yeah, they need to get it fixed. Man, seriously, Drew Brees. He looked like a shadow of himself. He'll likely fix that going forward. He doesn't have as good of a defensive front remaining on the schedule, really. So yeah, he'll be fine the remainder of the season. As far as fantasy football goes, I mean, I was depending on Drew Brees today. I know a lot of people were, and yeah, he fell apart. So I'm probably going to lose. But I'll do well in the playoffs. We'll keep you posted on that. If you guys like the content, please like and subscribe. Check out my pregame videos. I was wrong on this one, but I'm not very frequently. I get about 75-80% of my picks correct. But yeah, check out the pregame videos for fantasy football especially, and hit me up on Instagram at the Nerdy Sports Fan. I get my fantasy football pickup of the week. I try to keep that a player that's readily available. So not just picking the easy targets where everybody's already locked the guy up. So we'll see you guys next Thursday.